I sat in the corner of the country club ballroom while my sister Madison held court, surrounded by bridesmaids in matching pink dresses. The smell of champagne and imported cheese filled the air, sharp, expensive, celebratory. My mother stood beside her, beaming like Madison had just announced a cure for cancer instead of theft. $950,000, Madison repeated, waving the purchase agreement like a trophy. Closing in 11 days. The Hendersons are already measuring for their boat dock extension. My Aunt Carol leaned forward. I didn't know you owned lakefront property. Madison didn't miss a beat. Family asset. Dad always said it was for whoever needed it most. She gestured to the vision board propped on an easel. Venue photos, floral arrangements, a honeymoon itinerary to the Maldives. And I need it for my dream wedding. I watched my mother nod enthusiastically. Not a flicker of hesitation. Not a glance in my direction. The lake house wasn't a family asset. It was mine. Specifically, legally, irrevocably mine. My grandmother had placed it in trust for me when I turned 25, the year before she died. The trust documents were filed with the county, notarized, witnessed by her attorney. Grandma had been meticulous that way. She'd seen how my mother favored Madison, how family gatherings always centered on my sister's needs while mine became background noise. For the granddaughter who'll appreciate silence, Grandma had written in her letter to me, tucked inside the trust paperwork. May you find peace where I found mine. I'd spent the last 6 years paying property taxes on that house. 6 years maintaining the dock, replacing the roof after the storm, keeping the lawn service on schedule. Madison had been there exactly twice. Once for a bachelorette party she threw herself, once to take engagement photos she later cropped me out of. The earnest money cleared yesterday, Madison continued, showing her phone screen to the circle of women. $50,000. Already allocated to the venue deposit. I set down my untouched mimosa. The glass stem was cold, smooth, heavier than it looked. My phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. This was the ghost ledger moment, though I didn't have a name for it yet. The running tally I'd kept in my head for years. Every time Madison needed something and I provided it. My car when hers was in the shop, my guest room when she fought with her fiancé, my credit card when hers maxed out. Every time she took without asking because asking implied she might hear no. Every time my parents nodded along because Madison's happiness was the family project, and my role was to be the project manager who never got credit. The lake house was the line. The place Grandma had given me specifically because she'd watched this pattern my whole life. They'll take everything if you let them, she'd said during our last conversation, her hand thin and papery in mine. Don't let them. My phone buzzed again. This time I checked it. Unknown number. I stepped into the hallway. Quieter, cooler, the air conditioning hitting my face sharp and sudden. Is this Emma Castellano? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Yes. This is Patricia Nolan from Lakeshore Title and Escrow. I'm the closing agent assigned to 4247 Meadowview Drive. I need to speak with you about a property transaction scheduled for June 18th. My grandmother's house. The address I'd memorized before I could memorize my own phone number. I'm listening, I said. We've encountered a significant issue during our title examination. The property is held in an irrevocable trust established in 2017 by Margaret Castellano, with you listed as the sole beneficiary and trustee. Your sister, Madison Castellano, is attempting to sell the property, but she has no legal authority to do so. No authority whatsoever. The hallway was spinning slightly. I pressed my palm against the wall, textured wallpaper cool to the touch. The buyers have been notified, Patricia continued. The sale cannot proceed. Additionally, your sister signed documents claiming to be the property owner. That's fraud. Felony fraud. We're required to report this to the county prosecutor's office. How did you get my number? I asked. The trust documents list you as primary contact. Your sister provided a different number, your mother's, but our title examiner, David, pulled the original filing. He's meticulous about these things. Found the discrepancy immediately. I could hear Madison's voice through the ballroom door, explaining the wedding timeline to someone. The DJ was already booked. The photographer had confirmed. The dress was being altered. What happens now? I asked. Legally, the sale is void. The earnest money will be returned to the buyers. Your sister will likely face criminal charges unless you decline to press them. Civilly, you could pursue damages for attempted fraud, emotional distress, any costs you've incurred. But that's your decision. My decision. The words felt foreign. I need documentation, I said. Everything you have. The trust records, the fraudulent sale documents, the timeline. I need it in writing. I'll email it within the hour, Patricia said. Emma, I've been doing this for 19 years. I've seen families do terrible things to each other over property. But forging trust documents and attempting to sell someone else's inheritance while they're sitting in the same room. She paused. That's a new low. I'm sorry this is happening to you. I thanked her and ended the call. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I'd expected rage or panic, but instead I felt something colder. Clarity. The kind that comes when you finally have proof that you weren't imagining it. The dismissal, the casual theft, the assumption that what was mine was actually theirs to allocate. I walked back into the ballroom. Madison was showing someone her ring, 3 carats, platinum setting, financed by a loan I'd co-signed 8 months ago that she still hadn't made a payment on. I didn't interrupt. Not yet. I watched her perform, watched my mother play the proud matriarch, watched 30 women who didn't know they were celebrating fraud. My phone buzzed. Patricia's email. 6 attachments. I opened the first one. The trust document, filed March 2017, Grandma's signature in her distinctive slanted cursive at the bottom. The second attachment was Madison's fraudulent warranty deed, signed 4 days ago, notarized by someone named Kevin Hernandez who'd apparently accepted my sister's driver's license as proof of ownership without checking the actual title. The third attachment was the purchase agreement. $950,000. Closing date, June 18th. The buyers had already scheduled a final walkthrough. They'd submitted loan documents to their bank. They'd hired precision contractors for renovations starting June 20th. The fourth attachment was Patricia's official notice to the buyers. Title defect. Sale cannot proceed. Fraudulent conveyance suspected. The fifth was a timeline Patricia had created, documenting every step of Madison's fraud. Initial listing with fabricated ownership claims. Falsified seller disclosures. Forged authorization to sell. Attempted wire fraud by providing routing information for an account Madison controlled. The sixth was a memo from Patricia to the county prosecutor's office, filed 30 minutes ago. Felony fraud case. Urgent review requested. I looked up. Madison was crying now. Happy tears, she told everyone, because she was just so grateful for her family's support. I stood up. The chair scraped against the hardwood floor. A sharp, ugly sound that cut through the champagne buzz. Madison, I said. My voice was quieter than I'd intended, but the room went silent anyway. She turned, mascara slightly smudged, smile still plastered on. Emma. Come see the vision board. You'll love the centerpieces. The sale isn't happening, I said. Her smile flickered. What? The lake house. The closing is cancelled. The title company found the trust documents. My mother stepped forward, her hand raised like she was directing traffic. Emma, this isn't the time. Grandma put the house in an irrevocable trust, I continued. In 2017. With me as the sole beneficiary and trustee. The documents are filed with the county. Madison can't sell it because Madison doesn't own it. Madison has never owned it. The room had that particular silence that happens when everyone is holding their breath at once. Madison's face went from confused to pale to something like rage. That's ridiculous. Dad said. Dad doesn't own it either, I said. Nobody does except me. And the trust. Which means the sale you've been celebrating for 3 weeks is fraud. Felony fraud. I held up my phone, showing Patricia's email. The closing agent called me 40 minutes ago. The county prosecutor has already been notified. The buyers are getting their earnest money back. The contractors you hired have been notified to stop work. And Kevin Hernandez, the notary who approved your fake deed, is being investigated for professional misconduct. My mother's voice was sharp now. You're ruining your sister's wedding over a technicality. It's not a technicality, I said. It's theft. Madison tried to sell property she doesn't own to fund a wedding I wasn't invited to help plan, in a house I've paid taxes on for 6 years, that Grandma specifically left to me because she knew this family would take everything if I let them. Madison was crying again, real tears this time, angry and desperate. The venue deposit is non-refundable. The photographer won't reschedule. I'll lose everything. You'll lose $50,000 in earnest money that was never yours, I said. The buyers will lose their contractor deposits. You'll probably face criminal charges unless I decline to press them. But the house stays in trust, where it belongs. My Aunt Carol, who'd been silent until now, spoke quietly. Margaret put it in trust? 6 years ago, I said. The paperwork is public record. Anyone could have checked. Madison didn't check because Madison assumed family property meant her property. I looked at my mother. She was standing very still, her champagne glass frozen halfway to her lips. You knew, I said. Grandma told you about the trust when she created it. She told you specifically that the house was mine, that it was protected, that I'd need something you couldn't take away. My mother's silence was confirmation enough. I picked up my purse. I'm leaving. Patricia Nolan from Lakeshore Title is handling the legal side. The prosecutor's office will contact Madison within 72 hours. If anyone needs me, don't. I walked toward the door. Behind me, Madison was sobbing into her phone, calling her fiancé probably, or her wedding planner, or someone who could fix this. But there was no fixing this. The trust was ironclad. Grandma had made sure of that. In the parking lot, the air was hot and still. My car was parked in the back row. I'd arrived early to help set up decorations, a task Madison had thanked me for by misspelling my name on the seating chart. I sat in the driver's seat for a moment, windows down, letting the heat soak in. The ghost ledger was longer than just the lake house. It was every time Madison borrowed money and forgot to pay it back. Every time my parents asked me to be understanding when she threw tantrums. Every birthday party where her gifts were wrapped and mine were gift cards. Every family photo where she stood center and I stood edge, half cropped out. The house was Grandma's way of saying, you matter. Your peace matters. Protect it. I drove to the lake house that afternoon. 45 minutes north, winding roads through pine forests, the GPS announcing turns I'd memorized years ago. The house was exactly as I'd left it. White siding, blue shutters, the dock stretching into water that reflected the sky like glass. I sat on the porch swing Grandma had installed the summer I turned 12, when she'd first started teaching me about trusts and wills and making sure the people you love were protected from the people who'd take advantage. Your mother loves you, Grandma had said that summer, pushing the swing gently with her foot. But she loves Madison more. And Madison loves herself most of all. That's not your fault. But it is your reality. So we plan accordingly. 3 days later, the prosecutor's office called. Madison had been charged with attempted fraud and forgery. My mother had hired a lawyer who was arguing that Madison simply misunderstood ownership. A claim that fell apart when they reviewed the timeline showing Madison had researched how to forge warranty deeds. The charges were reduced to misdemeanor fraud after Madison agreed to repay the buyer's contractor deposits and complete 200 hours of community service. My mother paid the restitution, $37,000, and then called me. You destroyed your sister's life over a house, she said. I protected my inheritance from theft, I replied. She's your sister. And I'm yours. But that only seems to matter when Madison needs something. My mother hung up. She hasn't called since. The wedding happened. Smaller venue, different photographer, honeymoon in Florida instead of the Maldives. I know because mutual friends posted photos online. Madison looked beautiful. My mother looked proud. I wasn't in any of the pictures, but then again I never really had been. I spent that weekend at the lake house, sitting on the dock at sunset, watching the water turn gold and then dark. The silence was profound, not empty but full. Full of space where obligation used to live. Patricia Nolan sent me a final email a month later. Title cleared. Property confirmed in trust. No further action needed. P.S. I grew up in foster care. Never had someone fight to protect something for me. Your grandmother gave you a gift most people never get. Use it well. I framed the trust document and hung it in the lake house living room, right above the fireplace where Grandma's portrait used to hang. A reminder that protection isn't the same as punishment. That boundaries aren't betrayal. That sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who make sure you have something others can't take away. The house is mine. The silence is mine. The peace is mine. And Madison's wedding photos will fade, but the trust documents are filed permanently with the county, indexed and immutable, a paper fortress Grandma built because she knew I'd need it. I was right to defend it. Grandma was right to create it. And the family that called me selfish for refusing to fund their fantasy can stay exactly where I left them, outside the gates, wondering why I won't open them. The answer is simple. Some doors once closed should stay that way.